Hello and welcome to another tier list video. Today we are taking a look at the Halo games. Now, I don't have the newest Halo games on this list because I haven't played them enough to compare them to the other Halo games, but the rest of these on this list I've played pretty extensively. I've always been a huge Halo fan, so starting us off, we have Halo 1 or Halo Combat Evolved as it was originally released. And when this game first came out, it blew me away, really. I mean, I hadn't played any game quite like it. You know, it looked cool, it felt cool, it was cool being a Spartan, the campaign was fun, the vehicles were cool, the guns were cool. There was just so much new in this game that I hadn't felt in any other game at the time, really. And it was just so much fun. I mean, playing through the campaign, even today, is still fun. Other aspects of the game, such as multiplayer, don't hold up quite as well today, especially when compared with the other Halo games, but Halo 1 was definitely a phenomenal start to the Halo series. But simply due to the fact that it doesn't hold up quite as well to the other games, it's going to be finding itself in the C tier. Up next, we have Halo 2. Now, common misconception, people think Halo 2 is called Halo 2 because it's the sequel to Halo 1. False. As you can see in the picture, Halo 2 is called Halo 2 because you can hold two guns, which completely blew me away. It was too much for me to even comprehend as a kid. All jokes aside, Halo 2 was a phenomenal game. I loved the campaign, I loved the multiplayer. It pretty much took everything that Halo 1 did well and improved upon it, including removing the kind of the annoying thing of having the health packs that you needed to pick up in order for your health bar to properly refill all the way. That was kind of annoying Halo 1, but they took it out in Halo 2, just simple health bar recharged all the way. Halo 2 honestly was just a phenomenal game. It just really improved on everything that Halo 1 did well. Like I said, the campaign is awesome. I still love playing through to this day. I played tons of split screen, just one-on-one in Halo 2. Just a really, really solid game. Halo 2, fittingly in the A tier. Up next, we have Halo 3. Now, if you think I was singing the praises too much about Halo 2 on its improvement from Halo 1, you're going to hear the same thing. Halo 3 took pretty much everything Halo 2 did well and made it better. I mean, there's just so much to talk about here that Halo 3 did well. The campaign was phenomenal, probably one of the best Halo campaigns, if not the best definitively in my opinion. The multiplayer was just as good. They continued to improve on all the aspects, the gunplay, the vehicle play. It was also good. I will say, I was sad you couldn't dual wield the Needlers in Halo 3, but I get it, it was a little OP in Halo 2. But overall, Halo 3, just a phenomenal game. And then not to mention Forge mode. This was a breakthrough for me. I mean, Forge mode, being able to build your own maps and build your own bases and then fight each other in split screen. I just had so much fun playing that just endlessly. I mean, Forge mode, there was so much room for creativity, and while it was far from polished, and I think they did a much better job polishing it up in Halo Reach, it was still a ton of fun, and I had a lot of fun in Forge mode, building maps, even building racetracks. Halo 3, phenomenal game. Solid S tier. For me, Halo 3 is heralded as probably the best on-release Halo game that has ever come out. Up next, we have Halo Wars. Now, some of you might have not even heard of this game because it's flown under the radar, and I would say rightfully so. It was kind of the game that nobody really asked for. Halo Wars, unlike pretty much every other Halo game, is not a first-person shooter. It's an RTS or real-time strategy. You can think of things like Age of Empires or StarCraft. That's kind of where it fits in. And while I really do enjoy RTS games, I enjoy playing them quite a lot, I don't think Halo Wars was great. If I want to play a good RTS, there's other games that do a much better job of creating that experience. And while sure, it might be cool to play a Halo-themed RTS, that doesn't really have too much in terms of influence in how much I like the game. Overall, it was a decent RTS. The campaign was fun. But just in terms of gameplay, there wasn't a whole lot there. And honestly, it was disappointing for me to get a Halo game that wasn't a first-person shooter. So for those reasons, Halo Wars, sorry, you were a fun game, but in the Halo franchise, you were not great. So Halo Wars in the D tier. Up next, Halo 3 ODST. Now, some people say this game should have been a DLC. But I quite enjoyed this game. It was definitely different from Halo 1 through 3, as you're not playing as a Spartan, you're not playing as Master Chief, but you're playing as an ODST. And there were some good things, but there also were some negative things about this game. First and foremost, the fall damage in this game pissed me off. You know, Halo 1 through 3, you could fall like 30, 40 feet. Just take a little bit of fall damage, your health bar's fine. Halo 3 ODST, 10-foot drop, you're dead. And so that was pretty annoying. But overall, I still felt like the campaign was pretty fun. The gunplay was still fun. The vehicles were still fun to use. And one thing I really liked they did well was they made improvements on Forge mode from Halo 3. It wasn't still wasn't quite as polished as it was in Halo Reach coming up, but you know, it was definitely an improvement over Halo 3. They had that like kind of sandbox map that they made, which, you know, wasn't quite the sandbox experience that we would get in Forge World, but it was still really good, and it had a lot of fun, just like in Halo 3, playing Forge mode with friends, you know, building bases, fighting each other, messing around. And then lastly, Firefight mode in Halo 3 ODST, I think was great. It was the first time they came out with that. Super fun, just fighting endless waves of enemies with friends. Had a ton of fun in Firefight mode for sure. Halo 3, while it wasn't really, you know, the expected Halo experience that we got from Halo 1 through 3, I thought it was still really good. Had a lot of fun, so Halo 3 ODST, gonna be a solid A tier for me. Not quite on the par of Halo 2, but still fitting into that A tier. Up next, we have Halo Reach. Now, this is probably my favorite game in the series. I really love all the Halo games, but Halo Reach sets itself above for a couple of reasons that I'll get into. The first one, the campaign was good, but I will say the campaign was not quite as good as Halo 2 or Halo 3 for me, but it was still pretty fun. Obviously, you're not playing as Master Chief, you know, I believe I'm getting the lore correctly. The Fall of Reach is something that takes place before Halo 1, but it was kind of cool to fill in that gap, you know, and get that experience. So the campaign, while it wasn't the best, it was still a lot of fun, still definitely worth the playthrough. But what really set Reach apart for me was the multiplayer in the Forge mode. The multiplayer was phenomenal. You know, they had the armor upgrades, and I really felt like they did a good job of implementing that. It took, you know, the fun elements we had in Halo 3 multiplayer, and it added a little bit of spice to it. You know, they still had great vehicles, great weapons, still a lot of fun, tons of fun game modes in Halo Reach, just had endless amounts of fun. I thought all the maps were really good. You know, Halo 2 and Halo 3, there were always a couple maps that I didn't really enjoy playing, but I felt like in Halo Reach, especially the big team battle maps, just felt so good to play. All of them were phenomenal. And then getting into the Forge mode, Halo Reach for me is where they really perfected the Forge mode. It was incredible. I've spent just countless hours building bases. You know, they had so many things that you just really wanted to have in the previous Forge modes, and they implemented it in Halo Reach. Halo Reach really did it. They really did a great job with Forge mode. And then Firefight mode, they pretty much just improved on Firefight mode from ODST. You know, there wasn't anything really spectacular, anything super new there, but it was just the Firefight mode that I knew and loved. So simply because the multiplayer and the Forge mode and the Firefight mode were all just so good, Halo Reach, definitely my favorite game to play. Gonna be in the S tier. Up next, we have Halo 4. Now, this was the first non-Bungie Halo game, I believe, and it really shows. Not so much in the campaign. I thought the campaign was still pretty good. You know, you're back as playing as Master Chief, and I did have a good time. I thought the story was interesting. You know, it was pretty fun. It wasn't anything over the top. I would probably slot this one alongside Halo Reach in terms of how much I enjoyed the campaign. So definitely below Halo 2 and Halo 3 for sure. But the multiplayer was definitely very different. You know, you had classes, you know, perks, you know, choosing your own weapons. Of course, there were the game modes in multiplayer where it was like the classic Halo where you had to pick up your weapons, but I found that most people played the newer versions of the multiplayer, and I just didn't really feel like it was quite as much Halo as I wanted. They definitely were taking a different direction, which you would expect with a different company taking over the development process. But I still had a lot of fun playing the Halo 4 multiplayer. I thought they did a good job with even the changes they made. Still definitely a fun game, but there definitely were some shortcomings, and overall it didn't feel quite as much like a Halo game as the previous games, but I still enjoyed it. Halo 4, you know, it definitely lacked in some areas, but a solid game, I would say. You know, still holds up even to today. That being said, it is a recent game, but Halo 4, still a good choice if you're looking for a game. So Halo 4, we'll put in the B tier. Well, that's my list. I hope you guys enjoyed.